Now, still on the U.S. elections, Republicans have won control of the U.S. Senate with wins in West Virginia and Ohio, ensuring Donald Trump's party will control at least one congressional chamber next year. Now, Tuesday's results have strengthened Republican influence, enabling them to support Trump's judicial and government appointments if he wins the presidency, or to block much of Democrat Kamala Harris' agenda should she prevail. In West Virginia, Republican Jim Justice also won the Senate seat formerly held by Democrat-turned-independent Joe Manchin, while Ohio's Bernie Moreno defeated incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown, securing a 51-49 majority in the Senate. Republicans have also won key House seats, expanding their 220 to 1-2 majority. In a notable outcome, Delaware voters elected Democrat Sarah McBride, making her the first openly transgender member of Congress. However, final results are still pending in some races. Now, to talk more on this, we're joined by News Central's international correspondent, Afia Hagan, who has been monitoring the polls in the U.S. Afia, let me start by asking you what the mood is and how the people are reacting to the victory of Donald Trump in the just concluded presidential election.
Well, around Howard University, where we were only a few hours ago, that is Kamala Harris's alma mater. That's where she had a huge rally last night that was tipped as a victory rally. Unfortunately, it wasn't that. A very somber mood. Lots of people shocked and very, very disappointed that the Harris-Walz campaign did not prevail. Around the White House, there was real scenes of celebration from Indian Americans for Trump, South Asian Americans for Trump, playing drums and waving flags. They were jubilant. And so it is a tale of two halves this morning. It's a game of two halves, isn't it? And lots of people, especially here in Washington, D.C., which is a Democratic stronghold, and lots of people here are very, very disappointed. There is a general sense of shock. I think, once again, don't trust the polls, right? We were saying for weeks, and I have been saying for weeks, that the polls were neck and neck. That sometimes even Harris had a 1-point lead, well within the margin of error. But I think this also tells us, again, which we learned from the 2020 election, that Trump supporters are underpolled. They are underpolled all the time throughout every election. So actually, when we were saying that the race was very, very close, that Harris had a 1% lead, we were perhaps 3 or 4 or 5% out completely. So, yeah, lots of shock, lots of disappointment on one side and lots of celebration on the other.
So, Afia, we understand that, of course, there have been divisions that have characterized the country's politics in recent years. But how do you think the speech of the newly elected president, Donald Trump, will guarantee the nation's unity, seeing how even now, like you mentioned, there's been somber moods across board, considering the fact that there were a lot of people campaigning for Kamala Harris? How do you think that this his speech, or he assuming power, would balance things up?
Well, it's interesting, actually, that he chose to talk about unity in that speech, people coming together. He mentioned all the different, ethnic groups that voted for him. And, of course, he had widespread support across the board. His message in the past couple of weeks has not necessarily been one of unity. It's definitely been more revengeful. But now that he is headed for his next term in the presidency, he's talking about unity. I think that's something that a lot of people will appreciate, because America is a deeply, deeply divided, deeply polarized country. If it wasn't before this election, it most certainly is now. And actually, a country that would very much benefit from unity. But if that unity is real unity and is for all. Trump, when campaigning, was talking about mass deportations, also making it much more difficult to come to this country. So is that unity? Is that unity that he's been talking about over the past few weeks? Not necessarily. So hopefully we will see that now that he is headed for his next term, he will understand the value of bringing this country together, of trying to bring together those divisions, those fissures that remain across America, and take America forward. He's talked about a new golden age for the United States. It has to be a golden age for everyone and not just for the few.
All right, Afia, thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely look to you to give us more updates on how the people are welcoming this new development.